The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Hello everyone, this is John Jacob Schmidt from Radio Free Redoubt and AMRON, the American Redoubt Radio Operators Network. I just want to take a few moments to talk about this year's nationwide preparedness training exercise, TREX 2015, also known as TEOTWAWKI Readiness Exercise of 2015. It's a scenario-based exercise to give you the opportunity to practice your family or group's disaster preparedness plan. TREX 2015 is a 3-day exercise and will take place from Friday through Sunday, August 7th, 8th, and 9th. There's a lot going on in the world, and we know from history and experience that disaster can strike quickly and often with little or no warning. Whether the disaster is natural or man-made, shouldn't you be prepared to be self-reliant, even if only temporary? Some disasters have required days, weeks, or even months to recover from. Others are planning. Your own government tells you that you should have a week's worth of provisions to get you by until help can arrive. The Department of Homeland Security has spent untold billions of dollars recently purchasing emergency shelters for displaced or relocated populations, and they're quietly filling warehouses full of long-term food storage. They've been on a spending binge, purchasing billions of rounds of ammunition, weapons, and billions spent militarizing federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, including training specifically oriented toward civil unrest and lots of coffins. Lots of coffins. It's like they know something that the masses do not. Government programs for responding to nationwide emergencies aren't new. Our civil defense program rose to its full glory during the Cold War with America's enemy, the communists. But that program is long gone. Remnants of that survive and overcome spirit can still be found across America, but are only relics of a time past. There's still a national disaster plan, a new program, but there's an unsettling and subtle way that it's being promoted. No longer is emphasis being placed on civil defense, protecting the citizenry, but rather an increasingly dominant theme called continuity of government. That just doesn't sound like it has the citizens at the top of the food chain. So we need to be self-reliant and possibly for an extended period of time. One thing that we do know from experience is that if you can help it at all, you never want to become a displaced refugee who has to go to the government for help. That should be an absolute last resort, and only when you're faced with serious, life-threatening situations where all other alternatives are exhausted. Because everyone has one or two specific scenarios they play over in their minds as they make preparations, and it varies from one person to the next. We just use one word to simplify the planning process. We call it TEOTWAWKI, which stands for the end of the world as we know it. Now, we don't actually believe the world is ending, but rather TEOTWAWKI is any event or series of events which might have catastrophic effects on our infrastructure, food supply, civil order, and national economics, to a point where our culture may be very different from that point forward for a very long time, where life as we knew it to be changes. Still, TREX can be useful practice for you, your family, and your group, no matter the disaster. This is more of a short-term SHTF, or stuff hits the fan, exercise. TREX 2015 is designed to provide a basic scenario as an excuse for you to implement the plan your family or your group has been planning around. For each of you, that might be different. Some of you already assessed that you'll need to get out of the city that you're in, and so your plan is oriented around bugging out. Some of you have nowhere to go, or you don't plan to. Maybe you've assessed that you already live in a suitable location for bugging in. In either case, this is a weekend training exercise to let you and your family or group assess your preparations and actually practice. Are you sure that that generator you're counting on works properly and dependably? When was the last time you dug that shortwave radio out and inspected the batteries? Is the radio you were planning on using to stay informed armed, in good condition? And are you familiar with its features and how to operate or program it? Will your gear meet your expectations? You should already be planning for T-REX, but if you haven't, I want to encourage you to join the families, preparedness groups, and church groups across the country to review your plan and discuss it with each other, and ask yourselves, if something happened, what would we do? Then develop or fine-tune your plan, get things in order, and then practice. You'll have a chance to flip the switch and turn the power off to your house and identify cooking, lighting, food preparation, and many other needs you may have never considered. Identify needs so you can make a plan to address those weaknesses after the exercise, especially water. Turn the main water off to your home. Remember, pumping water to your home uses electricity. What if water weren't available? Do you have the means of procuring, capturing, and purifying water? Have you actually prepared a meal from your long-term food storage? Some folks anticipate they'll have to bug out. Have you actually loaded up your vehicle with everything that you think you're going to take and then headed to your retreat or grandma's house? A couple people who work away from home will be practicing their getting home on foot plan during T-REX. Have you mapped out your route? Have you walked it? Have you used your get home bag and actually lived out of it for a day and a night? Are there other micro scenarios you could create throughout the exercise to provide group or family training, or to simply make it more interesting? Take advantage of the training opportunity. One opportunity that T-REX will provide is communications. A communications training exercise will be heavily integrated into the T-REX weekend when AMRON, TAPRN, and other radio networks will be participating. The American Redoubt Radio Operators Network and many other networks and operators will be passing news, situation reports, known as SITREPs, welfare reports, and other reports and information throughout the weekend. Most all regional and national communications will be done following the frequency and time schedule laid out in the communications SOI, which are Signals Operating Instructions for radio communications. For example, one operator, known as a station, might have a news report to put out. He would do that on HF, high frequency, also commonly known as shortwave radio. He could send the news report across the continent to other HF ham operators. In turn, those operators would share the news and information regionally to other ham operators. You don't have to be a ham operator to receive or listen to most of these communications, but you will need a shortwave radio with single sideband, also known as SSB. Your grandpa's old shortwave radio not having SSB will probably just lead to disappointment. Most all ham radio traffic is done using single sideband. If you're not a ham operator, you should already have a good quality shortwave radio with SSB, single sideband, for long-range communications across the country in your region. A scanner is a great way to receive local communications so that you can receive local emergency service communications, ham radio operator communications that are operating locally on VHF and UHF bands. When your ham operators and relays receive communications from outside of your community, they'll relay that based on a time and frequency schedule outlined in the SOI on FRS, Family Radio Service, MURS, that's Multi-Use Radio Service, and CB, or Citizens Band radios, on Channel 3. We call this the Channel 3 Project. They do this to keep you and your community informed. They'll be practicing this in their areas during T-REX and any major national real-world disaster situation. If you don't have an HF ham operator in your area, you'll be out of the loop and won't be able to listen for news and information without a single sideband shortwave radio. Every family or group should have one, so if you don't have one, get one. This is a training exercise, so we want you to keep good notes. Keep a journal just for T-REX. As for the communications, we want you to monitor the AMRON nets for news, updates, and SITREPs. Keep a log of radio traffic. This will help you build confidence in your skills and your equipment. It will also help you build situational awareness so you can practice paying attention to what's going on around you. This will help to develop and strengthen regional and local communications networks, and then pass on the news and information to others as you're able. Now, for all of our communications operators and anyone participating in T-REX, remember this is a training exercise, and some of the information passed on the net could be disturbing to those who don't realize that there's a training exercise taking place. Some of these news reports could be very realistic and convincing, so it's very important that you always precede your message with exercise, exercise, exercise. This is a training exercise, and then you give the message or the news or whatever information is that you're passing. And then always follow up the end of your message with this quote: "This radio traffic is a training exercise for the T-REX Disaster Readiness Exercise." End of message. Now, as an incentive for folks to participate and take notes and pay attention and track the messages, we will be giving away some prizes, and we'll be announcing those prizes within a week or two before T-REX. Now, how to enter. Some of the message will be accompanied by numbers and letters. They will have an alphanumeric message so that we can track those. For example, if you receive a message that says message number 2 Alpha, all commercial power, cell phones, and internet is out of service in a 100-mile radius of Cleveland, Ohio. So you make a note of 2A. Now, the A, Alpha, is the second letter, indicated by the number 2, in the contest word. Later on in the day, you may receive another message. Message number 5, Oscar, National Guard delivering fresh drinking water to your town to be distributed at the nearest high school football field tomorrow at noon. This is only an example of a message. But you know that O, Oscar, goes in the 5th place of that contest word. So throughout the weekend, you should be able to assemble the entire word, and then hopefully by the end of the exercise, you will have collected all of the message with alphanumeric tracking numbers, and you'll be able to assemble that together into a word. Now, the real word that we're using for the actual exercise, we won't tell you how many characters are in there. You'll just have to listen for those messages and use that information to try to assemble the contest word for T-REX 2014. And remember, always, whenever you are sending a message, always use the term exercise, exercise, exercise. This is a training exercise. And then you put out the information, and then you close with, "This radio traffic is a training exercise for the T-REX Disaster Readiness Exercise." End of message. Be sure to do that. If you think that you have the completed contest word for the exercise, email that after the event is over by noon on Sunday, August 9th, 2015 to John Jacob at radiofreeredoubt.com, and we'll be holding that drawing that evening on Radio Free Redoubt, the Sunday evening podcast, which starts at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. For more information, go to radiofreeredoubt.com or amron.com to learn how you can get a copy of Signal's operating instructions, the SOI, if you do not already have that. And learn more about T-REX, the exercise, by clicking on the banner that says TEOTWAWKI Readiness Exercise 2015. That's T-REX 2015 on the right side of the page, both on radiofreeredoubt.com and amron.com. This is John Jacob Schmidt. God bless all of you, and we look forward to training with you on August 7th, 8th, and 9th for T-REX 2015.